we just, right after the first session, we just had a few words and we just knew it was from God. And so, if it's okay, I just want to share this before I go into my testimony. Is that, like we've said this a few times, our God is the God of generations. He's the God of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. And I'm looking here, and I see a lot of grandmothers, grandfathers, mothers, and fathers. And for me as a young generation, I want to say thank you. Thank you for all your prayers. Thank you for standing in the gap. And I'm so sorry that my generation sometimes does not give you the honor you deserve for all that you have done. Because I am here alive because of the generations that walked before me, because of my parents, because of my grandparents. Their prayers is because of why I'm here today and why my children are here today. I just witnessed this morning my 4-year-old praying for one of our family members to receive Yeshua as their Lord and salvation. And that prayer is because of their hard work and their plow. And so I just want to honor each and every one here and your families. I want you to know that we need you. You are vital for the kingdom, for God's kingdom. And I know that sometimes you're weary and you're tired, and I know there's a lot of things you guys deal with. Physically, I know. But wow, you're a powerful army. And the enemy wants to discourage you. Because he knows how vital you are. And you have a place in God's army and God's kingdom. And what you do today is not going to impact you with the generations that come from you. And I'm not only talking about the physical generation, that's a big part of that, but the spiritual children that God has given each and every one of you. So I was just really feeling that this morning. So I just want to bless you and honor you with that you go with that encouragement. Because I believe that there are gonna be meetings here when the next generation is gonna be sitting by you here. And it's not going to be only the mothers and the grandmothers and the fathers and the grandfathers sitting here, but all generations sitting here. In Yeshua's name. Amen. So, as you've heard, I was born and raised in Israel, and my first memories as a child, I was about 2.5, maybe almost three, was the Gulf War. Okay, and I remember I remember the sirens, the big missiles, the big booms. I remember that I had to be put in a big, huge gas mask. I remember in the middle of the night running to the sealed room or the bomb shelters, and that was my first memories. But I also remember, and this is also key to what I said before. I remember my mother right there in the bomb shelter with the gas masks. And I could hear, because you can't really sing because you got a gas mask. I could hear worship coming out of that. Oh no, I remember the melody. So to think of the gas mask, you can't really hear the words. And I remember that so vividly as a 3-year-old, that yes, there was turmoil, there were sirens, there were booms, buildings were falling, but yet in that bomb shelter, in that sealed room, the presence of God and the love for God. And I'm sure being a mother now, I can imagine how scary that was to have 2 little ones with you running to the bomb shelter, and how scary that in the physical that could have been. But for me as a 3-year-old, I just saw the love and peace of God at her. So I knew that even though this chaos, I didn't know what it was as 3, but this war that was around me, I knew that no matter what, the presence of God was there and was going to take care of me no matter what. And so, and that stayed with me throughout my whole life. And a few years later, when I went to elementary school, They, of course, like we've heard, it was in a settlement, and they all knew that we were Messianic Jews. And I was, you say ostracized? The class didn't want anything to do with me. They didn't want me to be my friends. Because for them, I was like, you're like a traitor. You've left the people of Israel. And I remember going as a young girl, a 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old girl. And I'm just saying, Yeshua, I know you love my people. You're rejected by your own people. And so I grew up, and you know what? When I was already in 6th or 7th and 8th grade, they saw how much I was still Jewish. We were going to synagogue. We knew the prayers. I was part of them. I was excited later to go into the military. And slowly they started thinking, oh, you are a part of our people. You are a part of us. And also, when I was 12 years old, that's when the second Intifada started. The Intifada, for those who don't know, is that the Palestinian uprising of terrorism in the land, when there were bombs and there were shootings. And so because where we live, there was a lot of shooting during the road. And what we would do is that we would get to a certain point where we would get close to that road. My father, he would ask us to take off our seatbelts. not safety, okay, but this was for a purpose. And we would put my youngest sister, who was a baby at that time, we would put her on the floor. I would put my other sister, Sarah, who was a little bit older, and then I would be on top of them. Because if there was a shooting to the road, at least there was some kind of protection in the car. But again, the example that we had is that I would have my mother would try and squish down, so we're not near the windows, and we would be down, and then you would have my father singing, Hodula Donai Kito. There's no, it's okay. Gile Ola Chazdo, we're in God's hands. Hodula Donai, praise God, hallelujah. No bullets going to hit the car. Hodu. I'm something like that, okay? And I remember, with my sisters, and even knowing, that we had a neighbor shot and killed on that road because of the shootings. And knowing that no matter what, the peace of God in that turmoil, no matter what happened, and that we were in God's hands. And that stuck to me, and the example that they gave me. So I know because of time, I'm going to go to my army testimony. So as we've said before, in Israel it's mandatory. Girls go for 2 years, boys go for 3 years. So I finished my high school. A week later, I was already enlisted into the IDF. Now, just to clarify something, you have to understand the reason the young girls also has to go in the military is because we're a very small nation. And we're surrounded by enemies. So every soldier counts, and it's very, very important. But it's even deeper than that, than the practical. It has to do with us as a people and as a nation. And I think especially the Aborigines will understand what I'm about to say. For me, I am 3rd generation from the Holocaust. My children are 4th generation, born in the land of Israel. And for me, as a young person, my grandparents and my parents and my aunts and my uncles and my cousins all went to the military so that I could live, that I could be safe. How can I, when I reach 18, look at my father's, look him in the eyes, look at my grandmother's eyes, and say, because of me, I'm not going to protect you? I can't imagine doing that to my grandmother, to my grandparents, to my cousins, who they laid their lives down for me. So it has to do so much with family, because we're doing this to protect the most important things to us is our family, is our people, is our nation. So if you even ask the young people, and I'm sure maybe some of you have already asked when you interacted with soldiers, we want to, because it's our obligation to take care of our family. So it doesn't matter male or female. This is what we do. And so when I went and I was enlisted into to be a scout, a woman scout, mean field intelligence. Just a nice fact: most of the scouts in the IDF are female, are not male, by the way. And you might ask why. And I'll just say I'm married to a wonderful man, and he's a wonderful fighter. And men, you are great fighters, and there's no doubt about that. Okay? But at least in Israel, you can tell me if it's also here in Australia, they say that women tend to be more detailed and can do a few tasks in the same time. No. So you can tell me that's right here. You So it just shows in the IDF how much we want to be precise, and we value life. Are we perfect as an army? I don't think there's any army that's perfect except God's army, okay? But very important to us is life and to be precise. We want to make sure that if we have a terrorist on our hands, it's that terrorist. And so they saw that actually the women scouts are better to detect because of the details and because of the tasks. So what my job was, I did gather intel. I would have a certain border. Later I can tell you privately what border, okay? Like in a certain area. I would know every rock, tree, whoever lived on that property. But the most important job that I had was if there was terrorists infiltrated into that territory or into Israel, I would guide the soldiers through the attack. I was trained to fight. I could fight, potentially, but that wasn't my job. My job was to guide, because I was the eyes. I would see the full picture. So I could tell the units where to go, where to fight, or how to block. Okay? What I'm explaining you to, I was 18 years old, okay? What I just explained to you is the average responsibility every Israeli young person has. Just so for you to grasp that. I don't know how much 18-year-olds you guys know and encounter here in Australia, but just try and think of how much responsibility an 18-year-old has in Israel. And so when I was 19, I became a commander over 20 soldiers, so you can do the equivalent here to the military here. That's also very common. You can be a captain at 20, 21 in Israel. Okay? And this is the reason I shared all this is because you need to understand the background before I go into my testimony, and I'll try to do it as fast as I can. So I just finished commander's course, and I was brand new, and there were me and another commander on the border, and we were in a place that I would say safe point, or a safe place to be in, okay? And we got a phone call, and I picked up the phone. It was a high general speaking, and he said, right now terrorists, really bad terrorists, I'll tell you later privately which ones, have infiltrated into Israel, and I need one commander to stay here and safe point to do the fighting, to know how to do the fighting, and another commander to go out into the field on the combat zone and retrieve all the female scouts. So God forbid they would not be kidnapped by the terrorists. We got the command, we closed the phone, and now this is where I come, and I'm going to be completely Israeli Jewish honest with you. I thought of every single excuse why it should not be me. I was young. I had a lot to live for. I wanted to go to study and get a degree. I was the least experienced commander. I just met this really cute guy. Later became my husband, but I wanted to see where I was going. And I wanted to be a mother, and I had plans, and those few seconds were going very far. And basically, I was like, I just don't feel like dying today. but at that moment, that very moment, God spoke to my heart. And you see, I was the only believer in my entire unit. And I felt in a soft voice saying, Devora, if one of you is going to die, meaning me or the other commander, is going to die today, who is ready to meet me in the heavens? And I looked at my friend, and out of love for her, because she wasn't a believer, and I said, yes, Lord, I know that in life or in death, I'm in your hands. And whatever happens from this point, I know I can trust you. You're the way and the truth and the life. And I know that no matter what happens to me here on earth, I am in your hands. So I geared up. I'm sorry, I don't know all the terminology in English, but I know you can imagine. Actually, I can, please don't take a picture of this for security reasons, but I'll let you guys pass this on so you can have an idea how I went out. I'm just missing my helmet, that's all. So you can pass it around, just don't take the picture. So I geared up, I got my helmet on, I got my M16. If you're wondering, yes, I am a good shooter, praise God. I loaded it up, and got all prepared. But I literally had seconds before I was going out to the field, yeah? And so I remember just before I went out, I was like, okay, God, I don't have time to read my Bible or anything, but I just asked you, make me courageous like David was. And I went out. And I remember, going, it was at night, and so I remember telling myself, if I could see the sparks, that means the bullet has passed me. It hasn't hit me, because if it's the spark, oh, okay, I can move. That's what I was keep on telling myself. And, but I want to stop here because there's something very, very important that happened on the field. And you have to understand, when I was going for one, getting the command, all the soldiers during this battle, I felt such a peace in my heart. Because I knew somewhere someone was praying for me. I don't know if that person knew what I was doing or even knew my name, I don't know. But I knew that I felt in my spirit, in my heart, somebody was praying for me. And so I want to encourage you that you might not all see the results of your prayers, especially when it has to do with Israel, to the other side of the earth. But I want you to know that God is hearing your prayers. And I am a living testimony of those prayers. Okay, praise God. And so I remember I was, counting the heads and getting everybody. We got everybody back to the safe point. I remembered we got a phone call from the general, and he said in Hebrew, Zenes, it's a miracle. Use that, this, huh? We've been talking about miracles lately, huh? And he says, we were able to catch the terrorists, and there are no female scouts casualties. And I knew that once I got it, I hanged up, I just knew in my heart, I gave praise and glory only to our God. Because of him, I'm here and alive, and my soldiers are singing song. So I just want to encourage you with my just really short story from when I was little and through the army and later. And just say that continuing on praying, because God is hearing your prayers about Israel. So, toda rabba. Shalom.
Thank you.